I heard the yelp before I saw her, and by the time I turned the hose off it was already too late. My neighbor Lena stood frozen on the sidewalk in front of my yard, soaked from the shoulders down, a grocery bag dangling from one hand, her white shirt now doing absolutely nothing to hide the fact that it was, in fact, a white shirt. "I am so sorry," I said, dropping the hose like it had personally betrayed me. "I didn't see you. I was aiming at the flower bed. I swear I wasn't." "You weren't aiming at me," she said, water dripping off her chin. "I believe you. Mostly because if you'd wanted to soak me on purpose, you'd have picked a moment I wasn't holding groceries. Yes, fair. I would have at least waited." She laughed, which surprised me more than the yelp had. Most people, soaked unexpectedly on their walk home, do not laugh within 4 seconds of it happening. I'd lived next to Lena for 8 months and had exactly the relationship you'd expect from two people who wave at the mailbox and occasionally discuss trash pickup schedules. I knew she worked something in healthcare from the scrubs. I knew she had a dog that hated my dog for reasons neither dog had ever explained. I did not know until that exact moment that she had a laugh like that, low and easy, the kind that made you want to have been the reason for it on purpose. "Let me get you a towel," I said. "At minimum. It's the least soaking someone owes them." "Is that a real category of debt?" she asked. "Soaking debt? I'm establishing it right now, retroactively, specifically to cover this." She followed me up the driveway, dripping a trail behind her, groceries still dangling, laughing again when my dog met her at the door, and immediately tried to lick the water off her arm like she'd been personally delivered as a gift. I found her a towel, then a dry shirt from my own closet, because it was the only offer I had that wasn't insulting, and she disappeared into my bathroom to change while I stood in my kitchen, doing the specific kind of pacing you do when you've just accidentally hosed down someone you'd apparently been quietly hoping to talk to for 8 months and never admitted it to yourself. She came out in my shirt, too big on her, sleeves rolled twice, looking somehow more at ease in my kitchen than most people look in their own. "This is a nice kitchen for someone who ambushes pedestrians with garden equipment," she said. "It's one incident. I have an otherwise clean record." Noted. I'll allow the one incident, given the towel and shirt made a reasonable attempt at reparations. We ended up sitting at my kitchen table, her wet clothes in a plastic bag by the door, drinking coffee that I made mostly because making something with my hands felt safer than sitting across from her doing nothing with them. "Can I ask you something?" she said, turning her mug in a slow circle. "Does the flower bed actually need watering at 6:30 on a Tuesday, or was that just where you happened to be standing?" "The flower bed absolutely needed watering," I said. "I want that on record too. I was not lying in wait." "I believe you," she said. "I'm asking because I've walked past your yard at roughly this time for 8 months, and I don't think I've ever once seen you out there before today." I felt my ears go warm in a way I hoped the kitchen lighting was doing her a favor by hiding. "That might not be a total coincidence," I admitted. "I may have noticed you tend to walk home around now. I may have started finding yard-adjacent reasons to be outside around then." I did not anticipate the hose being part of the plan. The hose was genuinely an accident. "So the timing was intentional," she said. "But the soaking was an accident layered on top of an intentional thing." "When you phrase it like that, it sounds worse. It sounds honest," she said. "Which I appreciate more than I'd appreciate you pretending the whole thing was a coincidence, for what it's worth." We talked for an hour after that, the coffee going cold, my dog eventually giving up on the licking project and collapsing across both our feet like he'd personally arranged the whole afternoon and was now taking his victory lap. She told me about the dog feud, which turned out to be entirely her dog's fault and not mine. A fact she delivered with the specific smugness of someone glad to finally win an 8-month-old argument neither dog had actually been having. I told her about the flower bed, and the yard, and the fact that I'd rehearsed at least 4 different versions of Hey. So, this is going to sound strange in my head over the past 2 months, and chickened out of all of them. Would you have ever actually said one? She asked, if I hadn't gotten soaked into it. I thought about it honestly, instead of giving her the easy answer. Probably not for another month at least, I admitted. I'm not naturally the person who starts things. I'm more the person who waters a flower bed at the exact time someone's walking by and calls it a coincidence to himself. That's either very honest or very concerning, she said, and I've decided it's honest. She was getting ready to leave, dry clothes bagged, wet clothes over one arm, standing at my door with the specific hesitation of someone deciding whether to say the thing they'd actually come here, accidentally, to eventually say. Can I tell you something? She said. Quieter now, leaning in slightly, and I found myself leaning in too without deciding to. Anything. I've been hoping you'd say something for months, she whispered, close enough that I felt it more than heard some of it. I just didn't think it'd take you drenching me to finally get there. I didn't have a response ready. Not one word of the 4 rehearsed speeches came back to me, standing there soaked in the aftermath of my own hose, holding a towel I no longer had a reason to be holding. I don't know what to say to that, I finally managed. You don't have to say anything yet, she said, stepping back, a small smile settling in like she'd been carrying the sentence around for a while and was relieved to finally set it down. You can just walk me home instead. See if you can manage it without a hose this time. I think I can manage that. We'll see, she said, already walking, already smiling back at me over her shoulder in a way that made the whole soaked, ridiculous afternoon feel like the best accident I'd had in years. Has an accident ever cracked open a conversation you'd been too nervous to start on purpose? Something clumsy turning into the exact thing you needed? And is there someone in your own life you've been quietly hoping would finally just say something? The way Lena had been waiting.